Okay, now we're recording. We're just after 9, so we'll go ahead and get started. And as I mentioned earlier, it is Husky Giving Day, so be sure to get out there and see what all the units have going on for their Giving Day activities. We've got a great agenda today. I'm Jeff Hendrickson. I'm the Web Content Manager in UMAC, and we've got our main presentation today is from Terry Shelton and Tiffany Severed, who are front-end developers.
Closed.
And I'm sorry, it's early in the morning, Tiffany. Uh, uh, they're going to be talking about video stories, which is super exciting. We've used the new template a few times at UMAC for some of the stories we've developed. So, and then we have Pete Graff, who's going to be talking about credential stuffing, and that will be very informative. But first up, let's turn it over to our Director of Web Strategy, Tom Thorpe, who is going to give us the word on the street.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here on this little dreary April morning. I want to start off, as we always do, with our land acknowledgement. The University of Washington acknowledges the Coast Salish peoples of this land, the land which touches the shared waters of all tribes and bands within the Suquamish, Tulalip, and Muckleshoot nations. I also acknowledge and honor the tribal nations across Washington State and the many indigenous people from across the country who live and work in Seattle and the surrounding areas. As Jeff said, we've got a great agenda today. I'm really excited for Terry and Tiffany to be showing some of the cool things that we've added to storytelling modules to do all kinds of fun video based stories. We've got a lot of them up now, and so it'd be great to see that. And as Jeff mentioned, it is Husky Giving Day today, April 6th. And so for those of you who have been working with your units to get ready for Husky Giving Day and for all the lead up to today, the big day, I just want to say thank you. I know there's a lot that went into it, and it's just really great to see everything coming together today. And I just want to thank everyone for all their hard work. And if you have a chance, Jeff did a great job mocking up the homepage with a beautiful picture and leads you over to the giving site. Take a look and see what folks are giving to this year. I literally just logged in right before this. We had just under 1,500 gifts, and that's at 9 o'clock this morning. So that is pretty amazing. So folks are definitely showing up for the UW. So we'll dive right into our communities of practice. Unfortunately, the Drupal users group will not be meeting this morning, so I don't have a slide for them. And I wasn't sure if WordPress was meeting or not, but Front-End Dev will be taking their April meeting to join the UX and design thinking community of practice. And you're probably saying to yourself, Tom, what's that all about? Well, there you go. Tuesday, I think it's Tuesday, April 18th at 2 p.m. They're going to be talking about information design and data visualization best practices. Rebecca Berg, who used to work at UW News, will be coming back. She's over at Boeing now, and she'll be talking all about best practices around data viz. So check it out. There is their Zoom link and, of course, more information on their wiki page. Also, their Teams group is a great place to check out and join in on the community. My usual promotion for the monthly accessibility and usability meetup with our good friend Hadi. Those are the second Thursdays of the month at 10 a.m. And that's on his Zoom link there. A couple of jobs around the UW. Quite frankly, there weren't a heck of a lot, so those positions must have been filling up pretty quick. But we do have a few, and as I always say, take that 6-digit number at the end, go to uw.edu/jobs, click search job, and enter it in the requisition number field. And that will take you directly to the job description that might interest you the most. And please feel free to share these with your network, share them around. We'd love to get great recommendations for folks for all the wonderful jobs that are here. We have a bunch of Seattle area meetups this month, so I'm probably going to move through these pretty quick. ADA's is doing Design for Kids. That'll be later this evening. It's a virtual meetup, and there's the link there. Content Strategy Seattle has got a talk next week about building your visibility and impact and that's also virtual. Ladies at UX have two back-to-back presentations. First is Finding Your Place on Wednesday, the 19th. And the next is an open chat on the rat race on Thursday, the 20th. Both of those, you can get more information at that URL there. New Tech Seattle has a bunch of different meetups this month. Women in Tech First next week. And then two in their continuing series on ADHD, one on Tuesday, April 18th, and then the next one is on Tuesday, May 2nd. North Seattle Tech Talk, you've heard me mention this one a couple of times. Our friends from AWS will be giving an introduction to cloud computing this coming Monday. There is still plenty of room to join on if you are interested. And OWASP is having their AppSec days down in Portland in June. Saw this in an email recently, and I thought I would share that out here. Not too many details up yet, but I'm assuming they'll be coming as we get a little bit closer. UXPA has a great presentation on inclusive UX research. That'll be next Wednesday virtual. There's the link to sign up there. And then the UX Book Club is on Sunday, the 16th, virtual with that meeting there. And then just my usual plug for the Seattle Drupal area users groups, WordPress users groups, and then the Seattle JS and JS Hackers group. So tons of great opportunities to talk with folks all around the area with lots of great information. See what folks are doing outside the UW. Conferences, we've got quite a few. Again, I'm going to move pretty quick through these, but the High Ed Web Analytics Summit is coming up at the end of April. I know this is a favorite for a lot of folks. Women in Tech Regatta will be here in Seattle at the end of April to the beginning of May. Confab, of course, as we know, this will be the last one, will be end of April in Minneapolis. Convey UX, which is a great UX conference, virtual at the beginning of May. We have the Digital Marketing Conference Pacific Northwest edition coming up also. Stanford's Web Camp, which is back this year down in Stanford, California on their beautiful campus. UXDX, both New York and virtual in mid-May. And then this is the first of the two social media strategy summit. This one is specifically for public agencies and government. This one will be in mid-May. There's a general one, which you'll see in a few slides later for everyone in, I believe, June. GeekWire Awards, of course, are going to be May 18th here in Seattle. This was one that I did not have in a previous presentation, but thought might be of interest to folks. Gartner's Marketing Symposium / Expo Trademark will be Monday, May 22nd to Wednesday, May 24th in Aurora, Colorado. One thing to note, if folks are unaware and would like access to it, the library gets all of us free access to all of Gartner's materials. So you can see past presentations from previous symposia, expos. You can also get their reporting, including all their Magic Quadrants. So it's a great resource available for free for all of us at the library. If you're off campus, just use the VPN to get access to it. Smashing Conf will be down in San Francisco in the end of May. Of course, DrupalCon beginning of June out in Pittsburgh. This is the other social media strategy summit that I was mentioning. This is the one that's open to everyone. This is virtual in mid-June. Product Marketing Summit also in mid-June, and another Analytics Summit in June. And then two case conferences, which my friends in UMAC pointed out to me. So if you are fans of case conferences and the work that CASE does, this is one of two new ones that I'm throwing up here for y'all. This is their annual conference on marketing and branding, and that's actually here in Seattle this year at the end of June. So could be a great opportunity for you. The tickets are actually relatively reasonably priced, and I do think that there are some discounts. So be sure to take a look at that. It's a great opportunity to work with this organization. In UMAC, we work very closely with CASE, so I can speak firsthand to the quality of the work from CASE and their support of education. WP Campus in July. EduWeb Summit also in July in Washington. Microsoft Inspire will be at the middle of July here in Seattle. And then this is the second CASE conference. This is their summit or Summer Institute rather in Communications and Marketing. This will be in Madison on the 24th through 27th of July. So another great conference, another great opportunity. And then the High Ed Web Accessibility Summit will be at the end of July. I know a lot of folks like to attend that one. Great opportunity there. So that is it for conferences, and we'll move into April's theme, which is how many words in very, very large print can you fit onto one slide? Turns out quite a lot. So as the leading edge student experience, we are looking for stories with the hashtag Husky Experience. Number of strategic considerations. I want to thank a couple of folks who reached out to me to let me know that it would be great to see Heritage Months posted alongside our strategic considerations. So I'm going to do a better job in trying to get those on these slides for you all. 2 months this month in April, National Sexual Assault Prevention and Awareness Month and National Arab American Heritage Month. And so we've also got a number of religious holidays this month to be aware of as well. And so a couple of resources for you as you are doing your planning. These are our calendars, the academic calendars, the religious holiday calendars, and I'm also including a link from Harvard, which had a great page on Heritage Months and identity recognitions. So if you would like to learn more, I think this is a good resource as well. Some of the notes you saw in the strategic considerations are noted here below. And of course, all these slides will be posted momentarily up on the website, so you'll be able to see them. But as I mentioned, we are looking for those stories around the leading edge student experience. So feel free to send those our way for consideration on the homepage, our social channels, and other places. And with that, I will say our next meeting is May 4th at 9 a.m. We're looking forward already to seeing you then. But until we get there, I'm going to say thank you and turn things back over to Jeff.
Thank you, Tom. Some great resources there. Be sure to check out our website, uw.edu/webcouncil, for all the links and info on those meetups and other resources. Okay, so up next, we've got Terry and Tiffany, who are going to give us a demo and overview of the video template in our new theme.
Good morning, everyone. So we are Terry Shelton, me, and Tiffany Severide, and we are front-end developers on the web strategy team in University Marketing and Communications. And I'm guessing most of you already know us, but for those of you that don't, there's a little intro. So, as you know, we build many things in the web strategy, but among many of them, many other things, our team produces immersive stories found at uw.edu/boundless, and the storytelling modules plugin that has been used to create many of those stories that we've produced over the last few years. And today we're going to be talking about how to create video stories like you've seen us post there using storytelling modules. And you may notice that we are not using a slide deck today, but we have a little demo story that we are going to be walking through as if we were building it together. So a very brief agenda. First of all, I apologize if I start coughing. I'm going to do my best to not cough in your ear, but I am just recovering from something. So yeah, so if I all of a sudden mute, you'll know why. So our brief agenda, we'll show the video header, which you see here already, and then we'll go through the other video presentation options in storytelling modules, including settings and options for each. And I'll note that while we're showing all of them all in one place, you don't necessarily want to use them all in one story, but you'll get the idea as we go along. We'll also go over best practices for working with video stories and with storytelling modules. And then by the end of the presentation, we hope that you'll be confident enough to try it out yourself. And then at the end, we'll take questions. And now I'm going to hand it over to Tiffany to get us started with the video header.
All right, great. So just double checking, you can all see the screen. Yes, okay, good.
Yep.
This presentation is going to be available for you. It is located on the docs site. If you haven't checked that out, encourage you to do so, washington.edu/docs. But right now I'm going to go back over to the editor. I'm going to just shut that down so I don't go there by accident. I'm going to hop over to the editor of this story and show you how we set up this hero section. So here we are, and the header. The first thing that I did was selected the type of header, which of course here we're going to do background video. And I had already uploaded my video here into the media library. So I just included it here. Now, if I had had a link to an MP4 video from another server, or if I had uploaded it directly to the server, I would put that link right down here. Okay. But I did include it into the media library. And then I selected the background video poster. That's a static image of your video that will show in case the video does not load for whatever reason, individual settings or slow internet, that kind of a thing. So that is required. And then the video button text. So hop back over here. The background video is here, but we're going to launch kind of a longer video of this subject, which is the library. And so what I did at that video, the one that we're going to launch, is I grabbed the YouTube link of that video. So I can't upload that one to the media library. That one I've got to grab from YouTube. Here's where I put the video button text and the color of the button, purple background, white text, or the reverse. And the video title is required, but it does not show up on your hero image or in your hero area. That's for screen readers. Here's the video that we're going to launch. And then the header height, you can have it the half screen height, or which is what I have now, or a full screen height. I'll show you the difference in just a minute. And then the text, the header text, and then a little bit of an intro text here, which introduces myself and Terry here. And I've selected the style of each of the header and the intro, white text with shadow, but there are a couple of different options that you can select. You do that for the intro style. And here we have the image overlay. Overlay kind of adds a semi-opaque color, dark gray, over the image, and that will help with readability because sometimes the background is too light for your text or too dark, and so that helps with the being able to read that text over the background better. And here's an option to have a mobile background image, and then you would want that one to be in the portrait orientation. So you can see how it all is here, and then if I go launch that video, there's the YouTube video. You can play it, and it's got this intro, but you can see, you can watch it here in your browser. You can, or in this website, or you can pop over to YouTube and do that. Turn that back, and just real quick, I want to show you how to what it looks like with full screen height. So we'll go that back to top, update. Takes a minute. Refresh. And there's the big full height of the video. So it's much more dramatic, but you don't get to see that kind of intro text that I had put in there too on the first glance. So so to sum up, for the hero, required is an MP4 version of your video for the background, and also required is the poster image that will be default in case the video doesn't launch. Recommended is to have this this pop-up video. You know, that's going to tell your main story. The background is kind of a teaser. What are we talking about? The library, and then we'll launch this video. So that's generally what we would want to do for these video stories. Also recommended is that mobile image. Most people on mobile many people on mobile don't necessarily want to automatically have a background video running. And then you would need to decide on your settings, header and intro text styles, header height, full or half, and then whether or not you want that overlay. And then of course, you'd also have to decide what kind of words you want here. Not too many, but you don't want to write your whole life story here, but just enough to kind of get people interested. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Terry to talk about some technical considerations.
Great, thank you. So we get these questions a lot about like what size of video should I put in, and you know, what kind of video, all these things. And I'm sure that you're all just waiting for me to give you exact specifications, and I'm so sorry to disappoint you because I'm not. And the reason for that is because it depends. You know, it all depends on what your video is, how long it is, what module you want to put it in, how you want to display it. There's lots of considerations to think about, but I will give you some guidelines. So the video should be at least 720p or 1080p, you know, that's ideal. And with modern tools, you know, even our cell phones can do way better than that. So, you know, with modern tools, that shouldn't be a problem. So you want something that is very high quality, but not too high quality because it has to go on the web. So for the video size, you know, if you're on our hosting and you're putting it in the WordPress media library, we do prefer that you have your videos under 20 megabytes. And I know that everybody just went, oh my gosh, that's impossible. It's not, but sometimes it is, and we understand. So if you're using the WordPress media library, the limitation is primarily determined by your hosting provider, whoever that is. And your mileage may vary on how good it looks and what size it needs to be for the video length. And we understand that this can be a delicate balance between getting the file size small enough and keeping the video quality high enough. So that it looks good. We recommend you just do your best and then understand your users, you know, are you know, over half of them on their mobile phone. Okay, we probably don't need a super high quality, huge video, because nobody's going to want to watch that on their phone. You know, you may have a super fast internet connection that can download a 4 gigabyte video in 2 seconds, which I want that internet connection. But, you know, nobody's going to want to download that 4 gigabytes over their mobile phone. So, you know, you really just want to understand who's going to be looking at this page. And then, so specifically about aspect ratio, I think this is actually the most important thing. Again, I'm not going to give you an exact dimension, and we get this question a lot. But ideally, you want a horizontal orientation. So for example, if you shoot a video on your phone in portrait mode, it might be a super high quality video, but it's not going to look good once you put it on this page in these modules, because they are designed to be a landscape or a horizontal orientation. And then I do want to make a couple more notes here about this before we move on. So the best way to compress your videos is during the export, but if that's not available, we've linked to a compressor tool here. You just want to make sure that it doesn't compress it too much, and the quality is still good. And then we also get questions about animated GIFs a lot. And I will just note that they are typically a very large file size, or they're very low quality. It's like one or the other. There's no happy medium there. So they have their place, but they're not actually a great alternative to video. So you would want to get that MP4 video file. And now I'm going to pass it back to Tiffany, and we're going to take a look at some of our other video modules.
Yes. All right. Next up, we're going to talk about using the flexible media block module with a background video and text overlay. So I'll hop back over to the editor here, scroll down to that section. Oops. I opened everything up. Okay. And that's not it. Yeah. Okay. So here is my flexible media block. In the content type, you have a lot of options for this one, but I'm choosing background video. And for this one, you have, you know, again, the option half screen height full height. I'm going to keep it at half screen, and you can choose whether or not you want a text overlay. You may just want a background video for kind of a design element or kind of a feeling or a look for your site, but we're adding some text here. And just as in the hero, I have uploaded this video to the media library, and here it is. I've inserted it here. Otherwise, I could have put the external link here. The text overlay style that I'm going to include, I'm keeping it on the I want light, and here's what your options are for the coloring for the text overlay. And I put the text here. And down here, autoplay video, I have enabled. Now, we generally say don't auto enable your video play, but I'm keeping it on here for the purposes of this presentation. And the video poster, again, this is required. So we go back, can see what we get here. So there it is. This pause button is generated automatically, and it is required. You can't get rid of it. All right, so that is flexible media block with background video. And back to Terry to talk about accessibility.
Awesome. So I do want to preface this by saying that we're not pretending to be experts in the accessibility area when it comes to videos or any of that. But so we'll say that these are our best practices that we use when we're working with video stories, and we're working with other folks that are creating video stories. So captions are required. I'm sorry, they're recommended. I say they're required. I make everyone have captions. And we do recommend that you use YouTube because YouTube makes it really easy to, they do a remarkably decent job of auto generating the captions, and that you can go in and edit them to make them correct if there's anything that needs to be edited. It just makes it really easy. So if you don't have captions, then you have to provide a transcript, but the best practice is to always have both. You know, you never know who is going to be watching your video and how they're going to want to consume it or that content. So the pause button, as Tiffany mentioned, the pause button is required, which is why we've included it in storytelling modules, and it's not something that you could turn off like the autoplay. And then the autoplay, you'll notice that that option was, the default is to have it off, but you can turn it on. And it's strongly recommended that you don't use autoplay, but again, it's available there in case you do want it. And then of course, you know, the number one thing, use accessible videos. You want to consider motion and flashing, anything that could cause seizures. And then there's a specification that says what that means is to avoid anything that flashes more than 3 times in any 1 second period. And then we have a tool that we've linked here that you can use to test. And I'll just note that it's a Windows only tool, and it is a little bit on the technical side. And of course, we want to refer you to the folks that actually are experts on this. So resources, for resources, we have a link to the Accessible Technology site, specifically their video section. And then we've also included, we've embedded it and also linked it here, the webinar for video accessibility that they produced, I think it was back in March. And or actually, I think the last one was in March, and I think the video is from September. We've also got a little bit of a shorter video from the W3C Web Accessibility Initiative on how to make audio and video media accessible. And we've got those here, and then Tiffany's going to actually talk about them and some other modules in storytelling modules.
Yeah, we're going to talk. Yeah, so these I'll go over real quick when we get back to the editor, but we're going to talk about, we had talked about flexible media block with the background video. Now we're going to talk about flexible media block with the foreground video. So I'll hop back over here to the editor, and here are those 2 accessibility videos. I just set up a columns module, 2 columns module, and in each column I put a copy block, and then in each copy block I put in the YouTube iframe. I just grabbed it from the YouTube video and put it right in there, and so that's how we got that. So this is basically an example of a YouTube embed in a copy block. I want to talk a little bit more about that in a second or two, but scrolling down, flexible media block, and this time I'm going to choose foreground video. And it's pretty simple. Grab the YouTube link and put it right here. Okay, we can't use a media library video here. So we're going to grab it, YouTube, Vimeo, or other kind of video link there. And one of the options we have here for the foreground video is the caption. This is the caption that will display underneath the iframe of the video. This is not referring to actual captioning the video. And you have some style options for that caption. And popping back over to the front end, this is what we get. Here's the caption, and it has this kind of nice style. And that's the video. Watch it right in the story. It's very loud for me, probably not for you. Turn that off. I want to compare that with the copy block video embed that we talked about when the 2 columns. Here it is in a regular copy block, and I've got I'll just show you here on this end, copy block with video embeds, and actually I have two versions of the Cherry Blossom Cam. This is the default width that I get from YouTube, and then this is 100% width. Okay, so that's that I had to go change in manually, and here's what I did. So here's the copy block. Here's the default iframe with the width of 560, height 315, and then here I changed it to 100%, and then I kind of fiddled around with the height, because if I kept it at 315 it would be kind of a short squat video. And so we get these two different, we can see how pretty even in the rain, they're glorious. But just want to, show the difference between the flexible media block foreground video and the copy block with video embed. Some stylistic changes so you can decide which one is appropriate for you. This one is kind of right up against the module above it. We have this nicely styled caption. Whereas this, we don't have that styled caption, but we can add copy here and other content in the editor if we want to. So those are the main video options that we have. For further inspiration, we've linked a few of the stories that we've produced in UMAC here. So when you go to this site, you can have inspiration here. And at this time, we can open it up to questions if anybody has any. Yeah, it looks like Lauren's linked this story and then the doc site in the chat.
Any questions from the group? If you want to put them in the chat or just unmute yourself. Well, thank you for the demo.
Answered all of the questions.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how people use this new feature, and love all the possibilities. I know we've really enjoyed having this option on the stories that we've produced in UMAC. Okay, well, Tiffany and Terry, thank you for the demo and going through the different aspects of creating a video story. Very informative. Next up, we'll turn things over to Pete Graff from the Office of the CISO, and he's going to give us a security short about credential stuffing. So Pete, over to you.
Thanks very much. Yeah, great presentation, Tiffany and Terry. It was excellent. I'm going to walk you through credential stuffing. This is a presentation we did, a colleague of mine, Peter Giles, did about, I think, a year and a half ago. So we just updated it because credential stuffing is still a thing, unfortunately. And it's, as I'll explain, it's something that you can address in a fairly easy way in your own security world and make kind of a big difference with your own relative amount of security. So let's do a little bit of history. In the olden times, if someone who had not the best of intent wanted to grab a credential for a site or host, they could simply guess a password with a whole lot of attempts, right? Like that's what we typically call brute force. That's hard to do, and it's harder to do, especially with hosts who have what's called rate limiting, where they only allow a certain number of logins or authentication attempts in a set amount of time. It's also slow, it just takes a whole bunch of time. If they were more motivated, they might be able to do something more sophisticated, like come up with a phishing attempt or do some way of getting a credential. That, of course, requires resources and planning. And we all know that that equals money, and planning equals time, and both equals hard work. And often folks don't have either of those. But so now in our more modern age, there's a much easier way for this to happen. And that's where we need to talk about the dark web. I chose this picture solely because the caption on it was average user of the dark web, which made me chuckle. I loved that the average user of the dark web was, of course, in a very dark room and was using a glowing blue keyboard and had what seemed to be monsterish hands. At least I'm sure this person is wearing a hoodie as well. So before we talk about the dark web, let's just do a quick few definitions because these are easy to get confused. So first, when we talk about surface web, this is the web that most of us use or are aware of every day. This is accessible by the standard browsers. It's also what's indexed by search engines. And this is actually a very small portion of the web. Estimates, I mean, this is a difficult one to really quantify, but estimates hover around 5%. So a really small portion, which is slightly surprising. Then we have what's called the deep web. This is also accessible by standard browsers, and this is not indexed by search engines. So you can think about all the stuff that sits behind a paywall, all the stuff that you get to once you log in, basically things that aren't going to show up from a standard search engine query. This is actually most of the web. This is a huge portion. Again, estimates are tough, but this is about, say, 95%. And then we have the dark web. So it's a tiny little, you can see that little black little slice there. This is the part of the web that's only accessible with a special anonymous browser, typically the Tor browser. It also stands for the Onion router. Not indexed. And again, this is a very, very small portion of the web. And the most important thing is it's a shopping mall for things that you can't legally buy at the mall. And that's really a good way to think about the dark web. This is a marketplace for stuff that otherwise people would get in trouble for selling. That takes us to, let's say, a scenario, pretty common scenario. Let's say a major site in our world here, it's xyz.com, is breached. And I'm sure we've all been notified of breaches over the last number of years. I feel like everyone has. It's a common part of our existence now. What typically happens once that site is breached is that credentials are sold on the dark web, and they get up to the dark web in an astoundingly fast amount of time, and are offered for sale. And then someone buys those credentials, and what they do is they just feed them into a bot, and they start checking that password and that set of credentials with any number of sites that may be important to them. They can do this fairly quickly, and they're just taking that same user ID and password and then just cycling through PayPal and banks and anything else that may be of interest. That's credential stuffing in a nutshell. That's it. But there's a little bit more to this. Harvested credentials are rebundled and resold, and they're really cheap. It's really easy to buy them. It doesn't cost much of a tiny fraction of Bitcoin to get a whole list of credentials from the dark web. And chances are, if you have a fairly large digital footprint in your life, you've got some credentials that have been packaged and bundled, because any number of sites, almost everyone has been hit at some time with a breach. So what can we do about this? One, not surprising, activate two-factor authentication on all your accounts. That any account that offers it, you should take advantage of that. I think we've all come to the place where using 2FA is hopefully sort of a standard procedure for a lot of us. And the security that it offers, it doesn't make it, impenetrable, but it really elevates your safety as far as running into these types of problems. And then, for the sake of our talk right now, with credential stuffing, most importantly, we want to talk about not reusing passwords. And this is the big one. We don't want to do this. And if you do use passwords across sites, for shame. And I'm only joking, of course, because we have all been guilty of this in the past. When people find out what I do for a living at, say, a PTA meeting, the inevitable question is, what can I do to be more safe? And my answer is always, don't reuse passwords. And everyone groans and says, really? Because I just have like 1 or 2 passwords. But it's true. How do you break the password reuse habit? Well, just come up with a unique, long, complicated, impossible to remember password for every single account that you have. Clearly, that is not feasible. Or you can use a password manager and remember just one long, complicated password or passphrase, and of course, use it with two-factor authentication. That is really one of the most important steps that you can take, and one of the most important things that you can suggest to people as they're thinking about and they read about the 900th password breach in the newspaper or credential breach, because the password manager can generate long, complicated, random passwords for every single account that you have. And if you have one kind of long, easy to remember password only for that password manager and you use 2FA, it really makes so much more of a safer situation for you. If you do use passwords across sites, or even if you don't, haveibeenpwned.com, put together years ago by ex-Microsoft guy Troy Hunt, really just sorts of tracks credentials that have been grabbed on the dark web. So you can see if you've got in your email and see if it's shown up on any lists. This at least gives you some visibility, and it also can be a good reminder, one, to don't reuse passwords, and then maybe give you some visibility of what sites you may want to really go in and change your password on. That's it for credential stuffing. I've got some references. I'll be delivering this slide deck to Jeff. Notice, I mentioned password managers. UW still recommends, and we still make LastPass available. The last bullet in this reference pages is the CISO website's summary of the LastPass issues that have been happening of the last, I think, 3 or 4 months. So you can read up on that. Still recommended as a password manager, and we give you the justification and reasons for that as well. There are countless password managers. The second bullet in this list is PCMag's best password managers for 2023. So you can read about the details of each and think about what fits your best, your needs and your security comfort. And with that, I'm glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from the audience? Feel free to put them in the chat or just unmute. Pete, I always appreciate these presentations because it makes me kind of reevaluate a few things and revisit some of these habits that you build up over time with it.
Switching over to using a password manager, it will feel like a lot of work. But there is, once you get in the mode of using it, and I think many folks at UW probably already doing that for UW related resources. But having one for your personal life is super important. The nice thing about most modern password managers now is they offer sharing features that allow you to share with selected people, share credentials. That is extremely useful. My brother and I both manage my mom's affairs, and we live in different cities, and it just makes it so easy because we can have a single folder that we go to that we know is safe. We're not emailing stuff around, and it's much more convenient and of course way more secure. Josie.
One suggestion that I actually saw recently in wake of all the news with LastPass was salt your passwords, put your passwords into LastPass, but have the actual password include an additional 3 or 4 characters that you know and isn't stored in LastPass. So you let LastPass autofill your password, and then you add an additional couple characters to complete the password.
Yeah, that's a good tip. And I think what we'll do for a future web security short is just talk about password strength, because you'll often hear language about use a strong password, and that is if I ask 10 people what they think a strong password is, that's going to be a wildly variant answer. So I think it's worth a discussion. And when you are using a password manager, it is key to have something long, and we always say use a passphrase. So come up with a nonsense sentence that is much easier to remember than a string of crazy characters and whatnot. And the LastPass issues of late, if you were using LastPass, which I was and am, I tend to follow that, and you really sort of separate yourself from some of that, or you make your vulnerability much lower if you're using a very difficult to crack password, a master password. If you were using a master password that was like 8 characters and was the name of your cat with an exclamation mark, you're much more vulnerable, and you shouldn't. Clearly, we all got to step up our game a little bit in that respect. But that's a good point. Thanks, Josie.
And especially if your cat is Instagram famous, that doesn't help you either. So if your cat is known on the internet, yeah. But that was a great tip as well, Josie. Really appreciate you bringing that up. And anything we can do to, just have that a little bit extra security is really great. Anyone else have a comment or question, or I'll get Pete's slides up on the website for the group to peruse, and I will get the video up of this as well. I know there was a delay last month in getting the video up. I still need to get our video up from last month's meeting, but apologies for that. I had a little technical issue with LastPass, so this is very apropos for me. So anything else from the audience? Thanks again to our presenters. Always great to hear your perspectives and get to share ideas and new tools that we can all leverage. Okay, well, we will close out the meeting. Looks like the cherry trees are still in bloom on the quad, so be sure to get over there if you haven't. I took a stroll over there and they were magnificent as always. So survived the hail. I was really impressed. So we will see you in May. Thanks again for joining us.